through 4 p.m. I'll tell you now that we are expecting several live events during our time together today. We're going to go to those as often as possible when they begin. The president is expected to speak before we get out of here at 4 o'clock, and we're already getting a live picture of people sitting, waiting. He's going to be in Iowa, where people are already set to hear what he has to say. You can see them all eagerly waiting, anticipating. He's supposed to be talking about the economy. I'm sure many other things will come up in that conversation as well. But again, as soon as that begins, should be in the 3 o'clock hour, we will take you there live. Chicago's mayor is expected to be speaking today, shortly before 2 o'clock, maybe around 1:45 or so. We expect him to begin his conversation, and we don't have many details as of right now as to what he's going to be covering during that time. I can tell you they have a lot to discuss at City Hall. It is very busy today, so he could be talking about things that they're trying to address for Chicago. I can also tell you, though, that he has been very vocal about what's going on in Minneapolis as well. And so we're not sure exactly what we will hear from him around 2 o'clock, but when he begins that discussion, we'll go there live as well. We do have a camera there, so as soon as it begins, we'll take you there live. We're also going to be talking about a first for concession stands and U.S. arenas happening right here in Chicago. We know a lot of things come and revolve around Chicago. So the interim CEO and the chairman of the board for Rhythm Incorporated is going to be joining me as the United Center will soon be selling THC beverages. You know, we just had a whole discussion about what can and cannot be sold in our area when it comes to THC, and beverages were still approved. And so now we will see them being sold at the United Center. You think about all of the different sporting events and concerts that are held there, whether it's the Blackhawks, or I was just there over the weekend for the Bulls, and the retirement of Derrick Rose's jersey, the #1 jersey that just went up into the rafters there, the concerts that are on the way, Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind and Fire, that was just announced that they're going to be coming here. The New Edition concert that's getting ready to happen in just a couple of weeks. I think that's like February 4th, or Rascal Flatts, so many others that are going to be there. And so this is going to be a part of the options for people who are packing into the stands there. Also, I'm going to be speaking with a physicist specializing in, hang with me here, general relativity, astrophysics, and cosmology. He's going to be talking about his role in helping to set the time for the Doomsday Clock. We have brought him on this show before, and today we've got to bring him back so that we can get an update on things. Those scientists all met together yet again, and we've moved a little bit closer to what we kind of wanted to go in the opposite direction from. So we're going to be talking to him about them setting the new timetable for the Doomsday Clock. That's coming up a little bit later on. But we're also monitoring a committee hearing at City Hall that we're waiting to begin at any moment here. This is about the Welcoming City Ordinance for Chicago. Obviously, the Trump administration's immigration efforts have been top of mind right now, very much so in the spotlight after the second deadly shooting at the hands of federal agents in Minneapolis over the weekend. Alex Preddy, who was an ICU nurse at the VA there, that died over the weekend. And so the ramped up immigration efforts, those 2,000 federal agents that went as a part of Operation Metro Surge for Minneapolis at the beginning of the year, now a lot of that is being called into question. There are new updates in terms of where the operation commander is going, who was also the commander for Operation Midway Blitz here in our area just a few months ago. Gregory Bavino, he's apparently been reassigned back to California, and so we're waiting to find out what will be the next steps in Operation Metro Surge there. It seems like, at least at this point, that the president, the mayor of Minneapolis, and the governor of Minnesota are all at least talking. That's different, that's new, that's welcomed. So we'll see what happens with that particular investigation as it continues to move forward. But in the midst of that, some alders here want to amend what's on the books for our city. If you think back to Operation Midway Blitz, there were lots of times when especially the role of local police when federal agents are here for their duties in immigration efforts, where is the line? There is a line. There is a well-defined line as a sanctuary state and a welcoming city. There is a defined line, but people wanted to know more. So just a couple of months ago, there was a hearing. I believe that was last month, that there was a hearing for the Chicago Police, the public commission that's over them, not COPA, but the commission, the civilian commission that's put together that reviews what happens with the Chicago Police Department. And they went over, they had an open hearing for people to speak to them about their thoughts on Operation Midway Blitz and how we move forward as a city when there is a possibility that agents could come back. I mean, the Trump administration says they will come back here to Chicagoland. So these alders want to amend what's on the books to strengthen, to clarify, especially who investigates when things go wrong. You would like to say if things go wrong, but especially coming off the heels of what happened in Minneapolis over the weekend, and even thinking about some of the things that happened here. A large part of the conversation in terms of the line between Chicago police and the federal agents that were in our area came from a situation on the southwest side where a woman, Mara Martinez, was shot 5 times by federal agents. And a lot of people who came out into the streets to immediately protest what took place questioned why Chicago police weren't more involved in that situation. And right after it, the Monday after it, you saw the superintendent in our area, Larry Snelling, come forward and talk about what they can and cannot do, what they did and did not do. And so there were a lot of questions that these alders are hoping to address now while things maybe aren't as active in our area, with the hopes that there's more clarity should Operation Midway Blitz pick back up, possibly in the summer months, or any other time. If it should pick back up, that there will be more clarity as to who investigates when things go wrong, even in Minneapolis. To draw you back there, I'm going kind of back and forth, juxtaposing what's happening in both areas. With Operation Midway Blitz over the weekend, with Operation Metro Surge, with what happened over the weekend, there were questions. Okay, well, the FBI is there. Are they leading the investigation? Okay, is it DHS? I mean, FBI is in line with DHS. Are they leading the investigation? Well, the state would like to lead the investigation. Does the state have to do their own investigation? There were plenty of questions as to who should be doing what. And in the midst of it all, you have a man who is dead, a family who is grieving, a community that is grieving, as these questions swirl about who's supposed to be doing what to get some type of answers. So at the very least, these alders want to clarify that while things are relatively quiet in our area. Who investigates when things go wrong should Operation Midway Blitz or any other effort come back to our area? So we're waiting on that to begin, and just as soon as it begins, as you saw there, we do have a camera there as well, and we'll be taking a look at that and listening into what they have to say and where they go with their conversations for what's happening here at home. I believe we also have a camera at an NTSB meeting. If we still have that one. The NTSB, they just actually kind of left out of the room, just a couple of people milling around. We were monitoring this as well, as the NTSB has a couple of different major investigations going on right now. One that they were giving an update on about that a horrific accident that took place this time last year in the D.C. area. That is the director of the NTSB right there, as she's kind of signaling for everyone to come forward. They gave an update on what happened. People have waited to find out, that there was a commercial airline that was in the air. There was a military craft that was in the air. How did things go wrong to lose the lives of so many people? Let's listen into a bit of this.
Good afternoon.
A little bit.
What?
There you go.
Am I good? Everybody's satisfied? Okay. I'm Jennifer Homendy. I am chairwoman of the National Transportation Safety Board, and thank you for being here today. We have spent half a day now focused on finalizing our investigation report from the mid-air collision near Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. This has been a 12-month endeavor through some pretty difficult times, including the longest government shutdown in history, but our team is expert staff, and it really has been an all-hands-on-deck effort. There has been a lot of testing of equipment and simulations that we've gone through over months, and now we're pleased that we're at the point where we can release our findings, our probable cause, and our safety recommendations, which we'll get into this afternoon. I will tell you, though not public yet, the draft report is well over 500 pages. I can't remember the last NTSB report that was that extensive, but also in addition to that, our evidence is quite extensive, exceeding 19,000 pages in our public docket. So with that, we still have an afternoon where we're going to get into some additional issues and then get into the findings, probable cause, and safety recommendations. But I'll take a few questions. Chris, you were the first to raise your hand. I will ask if you can state your name and your affiliation. If you could keep it to one question, largely because I need another coffee. But also, if we need to do more than one round, that's okay. Go ahead.
Chris Van Cleve from CBS News. There's very clear frustration from the board, it sounds like, when it comes to the FAA's role in all of this. Should the FAA have known there was a problem? Should something have been done?
The question is, should the FAA have known there was a problem, and should something have been done? Absolutely. The data was there. The data was in their own systems. It was the NTSB working with them to determine that there were 15,214 close proximity events, 85 of which were serious, over a number of years. That's just the data. Why collect data if you're not going to analyze it? Then they were supposed to conduct annual reviews of helicopter routes to consider, are they still safe? Is there utility to keeping them? Should they change? We couldn't find any evidence of annual reviews, nor could FAA tell us who did them. That is astounding to me. It's one, I believe, failure after another. But we can talk about the pilots, we can talk about air traffic controllers, we can talk about traffic. What we need to really talk about is a tower and tower personnel who were repeatedly saying, we have a safety problem here. We have a hot spot at the end of runway 33 and we need to do something about it. We have helicopter routes where we have unsafe practices right now. We need to do something. How many times do tower personnel, who, by the way, put their own helicopter working group together and kept submitting one recommendation after another? We need help, we need help, we need help. Apparently falling on deaf ears. So I will also get the, oh, she sounds angry. we should be angry because for years no one listened. This was preventable. This was 100% preventable. Frankly, having a helicopter route crossing runway 33 with only 75 feet that means 75 feet of vertical separation. What that means is 75 feet at best separating a helicopter and civilian aircraft. Nowhere in the airspace is that okay. Nowhere. This shouldn't have existed. Tom, you were the second person.
Madam Chair, Tom Costello with NBC News. Are you concerned that there may be other hotspots right now that the FAA is not paying attention to?
Question is, are there other hotspots? And am I concerned that the FAA is not paying attention to those other hotspots? The answer to that is yes. The FAA did a evaluation of the national airspace, I believe, as a result of Senator Cruz and Senator Cantwell asking for that evaluation. I'm not sure that I'm not comfortable with it. I keep hearing about other areas in the airspace where they're concerned. Burbank is one where commercial airlines have called me to say the next midair is going to be at Burbank. And nobody at FAA is paying attention to us. So whether it is involving helicopters or not, people are raising red flags. And why aren't people listening? The FAA has to ensure safety. That is their job. Yes.
Will Guys behind the Air Current. So I know we have yet to see the text of the recommendation this afternoon. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you plan to sort of address some of the cultural issues that the board has displayed here. I know we talked about like specific things with respect to equipage or whatnot, but how do you address some of these big cultural issues that prevented, say, controllers' recommendations from being elevated or from Army pilots really understanding some of the risks of the airspace they were flying?
The question is, how do you change culture, essentially? And are you just referring to FAA or also Army?
Everyone,
I
yeah.
mean, culture is the hardest to change in any organization. I can tell you this much. I knew there was a safety culture problem when we had a hearing on the door plug. We had a hearing and I asked a question, do you have a good safety culture? I asked Boeing, they said, we could do better. I asked Spirit, we could do better. I asked FAA, they said, our safety culture is great. My response was, the individual organization that says they have a great safety culture is the problem. Because I'm the NTSB chair. We are the safety organization. But safety culture, having a good safety culture is not a destiny. It is a continual journey. It is a continual improvement process. So if you look at my own agency, frankly, I always think there's room for improvement. Always. But changing culture is so hard. So I have to say I want to work with FAA. I want to work with the leadership at FAA. I know the board wants to work with the leadership at FAA in partnership to figure out what we can do to help improve safety culture. We have heard from so many individuals who won't even put their name on anything, don't want to be interviewed formally because they are afraid of retaliation. That's terrible, because what happens then, people won't speak up when there's a safety issue. I know that this is on Administrator Bedford's, top of his mind, and the secretary. We've talked about it. But we've got to figure out a way to improve safety culture.
So is the FAA falling down on?
Okay, so we've been listening in there to what's been some pretty fiery comments there from Jennifer Homendy. She is the chairwoman for the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB there. Again, as they are releasing more information today about what happened, what went wrong, what could have been what could have been done in advance to prevent that horrible plane crash that took place mid-air, the collision in the Washington, D.C. area, the Virginia, D.C. area outside of Ronald Reagan National Airport there on the East Coast. And she says it's been a months-long investigation. They are releasing some findings, probable cause, safety recommendations today. She says that the draft report is over 500 pages. Talked about some of the safety recommendations, 19,000 pages. She says she cannot remember one that has ever been this extensive. There were lots of questions that were being asked of her, as many people have waited for information, again, for months, so almost a year to the day. And she says, well, one of the questions was, should the FAA have known there was a problem? Pretty shocking that she was very forthright with her condemnation, essentially, of the FAA. She says data was collected but never used. She says no, there was no evidence of annual reviews. This was one failure after another. Speaking again of the FAA, she talked about personnel from the tower there repeatedly saying something was wrong. She says for years, no one listened, and that this was 100% preventable. Harsh, but possibly true. She says that, she was asked about other hotspots. She says, sure, there's other hotspots across the country. She called out Burbank as one of those. And she says that the FAA has to ensure safety. This goes back into a safety culture problem, that she wants to work with the FAA, but there is a lot of work to do, again, to this safety culture problem that resulted in the deaths of so many people that day mid-air. They are continuing on with that discussion there, and again, we're waiting on them to release even more information about that particular accident, and also even one that just happened over the weekend in Maine. But as they continue on with that, we are going to continue on with our conversations here on Chicago Live. I told you that we were going to be able to ask some questions of someone who is in the know about the Doomsday Clock. The scientists, the physicists, the astrophysicist, all of these people got together today and they came up with a new timetable here. And so Daniel Holz is joining me now to tell us a little bit more about what the findings are. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thanks. It's great to be back.
You always make us feel like maybe we should get back in school, or maybe you send us running in the opposite direction with that blackboard behind you. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, and then I'm going to talk about the Doomsday Clock, which...
There's that. Yeah. Okay. So where are we now? Tell me where you all were in the last convening that you all had, and where we have gone today.
So we announced the time of the Doomsday Clock a year ago, and at that time we announced that it was 89 seconds to midnight. And there were many reasons for this, and which we can go through. The short version is that there's still a nuclear threat that hangs over all of our heads. Climate change is happening and accelerating. There are still real threats from biological developments, pandemics, engineered bioweapons. There are lots of ways that things could go wrong. And then there are other things like AI or the weaponization of space that are very alarming. So we were worried a year ago, and we said what we need to do, the nations need to come together to address these threats and reduce these risks. And over the past year, everything has gone worse. The nations haven't come together. In fact, they've been splintering apart. If anything, there's much more of an us versus them, winner-take-all approach to the globe. And that means that we're not addressing these really terrible risks to all of us, to all of civilization. And therefore, we have moved the clock even closer to midnight. So what we just announced just a couple of hours ago is that the Doomsday Clock is now at 85 seconds to midnight, which is the closest the clock has ever been to midnight.
Is it typical, if we go back further, is it typical to lose 4 seconds in 1 year, or have we sped things up pretty significantly?
So, the clock has gone back and forth over the years. It was first, it's this kind of symbol that the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist uses to capture the kind of risks to civilization. And it was started in 1947, and it started at 7 minutes to midnight. And then over the years, it's kind of moved backwards and forwards. It's moved as far away as 17 minutes to midnight, which was at the end of the Cold War. And then over the last decade or so, it's kind of systematically been ticking forward. And now at 85 seconds, it's the closest it has ever been in the history of the clock, which is our way of saying this is the most dangerous moment for civilization.
Do you think people really pay attention to that? Like, or that each time you all come out with it, it's like, okay, I mean, just by the nature of it being the Doomsday Clock, are people like, okay, listen, we know they're going to tell us we are getting closer each time. I mean, even if you've pointed out sometimes when we've actually made progress and going in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I think what I've found, especially recently, and especially, for example, this year, so far the reception hasn't been, oh, what are you talking about? The reception has been more of, oh, yeah, that kind of tracks with everyone's perceptions of the state of the world. The world does seem to be splintering. Now we have nations, we have nuclear nations attacking other nations. We've seen that with India and Pakistan. We saw that with Iran. We, of course, are seeing that in Ukraine. We've seen the climate continue to get worse with all these record-breaking floods and fires and storms. All of that stuff is accelerating and intensifying. I think most people now don't find it, if anything, they don't find it surprising that the clock is moving forward. And on the one hand, that's good. I think it's extraordinarily important that there's awareness that this is a very dangerous moment in history. On the other hand, there's a sort of complacency about it, a sense that nothing can be done. And that's what I find most alarming. The whole point of this exercise is to turn back the clock. There are all these things that could be done that would reduce these dangers. We're not doing those things. And, if things go wrong, we all suffer. Everyone on Earth suffers. So it's in all of our interest to kind of make progress and to turn back the clock. And that's the real message.
When you all convene, is everyone on the same page? Or do you have someone who's like the eternal optimist who is saying, no, guys, I think we're going too far?
So there certainly are, we have heated discussions. We have all these experts. So I chair this group called the Science and Security Board, and it consists of experts on a very wide range of topics. And we also bring in other people to present to us and kind of teach us about additional threats and things we might worry about. And then we have very vigorous discussion. And often, we're always learning from each other and learning from the larger community, and then we have to distill that all into a number. And I have to say that there have been some years where it's more difficult to find consensus, but this year it was fairly straightforward. I think we all feel like when you take the sum total of all the different risks and look at the way things are going, that 85 seconds really, really captures the state of the world.
When we talk about things on such a global or geopolitical level, sometimes the individual feels like, okay, well, what do I have to do with that, or what can I do to change that? Is there a message to individuals as to something that we could individually be doing different to turn the clock back in time?
Yeah, so I think that's actually one of the most important, questions, and one of the most important points of all of this is that, first of all, this impacts all of us, so all individuals, so anyone watching this, listening to this, this is important to you personally that we get this right. So that's point one. And point two is that the way we get change is by all individuals doing what they can. Collectively, that's the way we'll get change. So whomever you are, I would argue it's important to be informed about this. For example, you can go to the bulletin.org and we have an explanation of all these risks and why we think you should be concerned and ways to kind of inform yourself about it. Then, the trick is carry that forward, be inspired by that to make a difference. And that's a very personal thing. That could be talking to your family or friends or neighbors. That could be, of course, voting or going to rallies or protests. That could be running for office. That could be, making art or writing a novel or whatever it is, whatever your talents are. Let your work be kind of informed and inspired by this risk and a desire to make a difference and turn back the clock. And I think the only way the clock will really turn back is if there's sort of a public pressure to do that. And of course, that is something all of us should want to do. So it is particularly important that individuals do their part.
Okay, you are the founding director for the Existential Risk Laboratory at UChicago. Anything else that you all are working on right now that you can tell us about?
Yeah, so the Existential Risk Lab, XLab, is an effort on the University of Chicago campus to address all of these risks and to kind of try to understand them and come up with ways to mitigate them. And the things we focus on right now, we have a lot of students focusing on AI and AI safety, ways to ensure that AI benefits humanity and doesn't accelerate the end of humanity. So we have projects on that. We also have projects trying to better understand nuclear winter. What will happen if nuclear weapons are used, and how does that impact the climate, and therefore agriculture, and therefore the people, our ability to feed ourselves as humans on the planet. So we have projects like that. We're working, hard also to come up with ways to communicate these risks to the public and to help get people engaged on these topics so that there is change.
Very interesting stuff. Thank you so much for joining us yet again today, everybody. We are 85 seconds to midnight. Thank you, Professor Holtz.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Should I say thank you? I'm not sure. This isn't information that we want. Maybe it's information we need, though, so I will be grateful for that, for the knowledge. All right, it's 1:33 right now. We're going to take a 2-minute break. Our next guest is already on the line here. We're going to talk about a first for the United Center as it pertains to THC beverages. right, welcome back, everyone. We often say that everything kind of revolves around Chicago or has some type of Chicago connection. And so there is a first for the country when it comes to arenas that is starting right here with the United Center. And I want to go ahead and bring in Ben Kovler, the interim CEO and chairman of the board of Rhythm Incorporated, to talk a little bit more about bringing THC beverages. And as I understand it, it's both your brand, Rhythm, and then someone brought these upstairs to me, Senorita, that are going to be sold there at United. Tell me more.
Yeah, that's our brand as well, those Senorita. Those are THC margaritas, no alcohol, but THC in a drink. And today we announced a multi-year deal with the United Center, obviously Chicago's premier venue, to serve these drinks at live events. So we're excited about that. It's a first for the country, it's a first for Chicago, and it's great for consumers.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about these. I mean, if people aren't familiar with THC beverages, if they're not familiar with Senorita, or tell me a little bit more about like what people would be enticed by and what the effect of these would be.
Great, yeah. So these have THC in them. It's like marijuana. You get high from having these, but one drink is similar to a glass of wine, perhaps, a little bit of an edge off. And what's happened lately is we're able to put THC into a drink, into a ready-to-consume canned beverage. It's sold at Binny's and liquor stores and all around Chicago and around the state. And what we're seeing is consumers are leaning away from alcohol, choosing less alcohol, and looking for alternatives. And so being able to offer this at concerts and at different kinds of live events and sports, it's a great thing for consumers, and it's an alternative. But the product itself is marijuana in a can.
Tell me your thoughts on kind of the evolution here. There were so many discussions just recently about THC-derived products and beverages, continue to be approved. Tell me about the evolution in your eyes that you've gotten now to the United Center where you'll reach so many more people.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the headline is it's a very complicated industry to understand. There's a lot of words thrown around,
Sure.
Cannabis, THC, hemp, farm bill, loophole, things like that. At Green Thumb and at Rhythm, what we really focus on are the consumers. And consumers want choice and they want availability. And so we've been here in Chicago. I started the business here in Chicago in 2014, and we've been part of the medical cannabis program and then the rec cannabis program as it's going here. And the rules have evolved in such a way where we can offer these drinks made from hemp products that offer the same effects for consumers right next to beer and hard seltzer. And so it started up in Minnesota, and it's come to Illinois and Tennessee and Texas and all around the country. And now offering this product gives consumers an alternative to alcohol. Alcohol, as you know, provides one effect and a large hangover. There's no hangover from these. These are often healthier alternatives, and we're seeing people choose them.
What do you say to people who would be concerned about maybe someone, obviously if it's alcohol, can't be sold to someone under 21. Are there regulations of that nature for your products as well?
Yes, 21 and over only. And the product's only going to be in a 5 milligram dose at the United Center. And you see them around the state in 5 and 10 milligram doses, things like that. But what's really nice about a beverage is it's much harder to accidentally drink 6 drinks. Whereas in the gummy form, you can accidentally have a lot of gummies. Everybody likes gummies. So we see the beverage as a very safe entry space for the category for people to try and consume THC.
Yeah, and what does it do to your business to get into a place like the United Center? And how does it fundamentally change your projections moving forward?
Well, it's a continued step in the normalization and credentializing this category and this product. Offering Senorita, which is a great tasting THC margarita, and Rhythm, which is the nation's best cannabis brand out there, at the United Center is a big deal. We've had the business here in Chicago for 10 years. The United Center is the premier venue, and being able to expose consumers to our brands, to our lifestyle brands that are safe, highly functional, great products is super exciting.
Yeah, and artists, when they're coming to the United Center, do you have some deals with particular artists?
Oh yeah, as Rhythm, we've done a number of deals with different artists. We're constantly working, whether it's United Center, Salt Shed, any venues around the city, the Riv, the Vic, you name it, we're there. We're seeing, make the green room green really is true. artists like cannabis. We're able to offer cannabis products on their rider and to artists around the state and around the country, and that goes great. Obviously, Rhythm is our leading brand as a music brand about find your rhythm, find your flow state, be your best self. So we're able to take kind of a 360 approach and encounter artists and visitors alike.
Yeah, and what does it mean to you? I mean, that you've done this work from the ground up in Chicago and to now get on this level?
It's great. We feel good. I mean, it's a team effort here. It takes a village. Head down, focused on execution. We want to continue to offer products. We think that most people around the city and around the state don't even know that THC products are available like this. So we continue to be on the education mission, offering choice and showing people a safe alternative.
It certainly opens up new avenues for education, for sure, for people to see it more normalized, if you will, in society at places like the United Center. So let me ask you this. I mean, have you already started maybe making the phone calls to other arenas across the country? Since this is a first and we're talking about kind of normalizing things, maybe others are looking like, oh, if it works at the United, bring it here.
For sure. There's been inbound calls, outbound calls. We're talking to a lot of different people. This is a brand new product category. Across the board, and alcohol consumption is way down. Alcohol sales and the level of consumption among young adults particularly is at historic lows. So if you're an operator of a retailer or a venue that has a large bar business, you're hyper aware that there's alternative products that consumers are going to choose. So we're right there in the center of the new demand, and it's a pretty exciting spot.
It's certainly a new demand. So are you going to keep it in the box of beverages, or are you doing other things as well?
Well, as a business, we do everything, anything related to THC. Rise dispensaries across Illinois are our stores, Rhythm products, dog walkers, Incredibles. But this deal with United Center is strictly on beverage. It's strictly hemp-derived beverages, Señorita and Rhythm. And we're going to stay right there for the United Center. That's what makes sense. That's what's allowed. And we're squarely in the middle of the rules. So that's pretty good. But broadly across the city, across the state, across the country, we're serving the needs for consumers, patients alike, who want marijuana and THC products.
What made you hop into this business?
Oh, myself? I mean, we think the product is a huge positive. We see a lot of negative attributes from opioids and alcohol use, and this product leads to a lot of positivity, and there's a lot of misconception about it, and an incredibly great business opportunity. We now have 5,000 employees and a lot of positive momentum making a change, so that motivates me every day.
And you all are based in Illinois and like making the product here in Illinois?
Yeah, we're based right here in Chicago. I'm in River North right now at headquarters. And on the marijuana side, yes, we have 2 facilities in Illinois, one in Rock Island, one in Oglesby. Shout out to those teams out there. And that product is grown in Illinois, distributed in Illinois, and sold in Illinois. But we also have facilities in places like Minnesota, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, doing the same kind of thing. It's a huge team producing great product with a lot of good momentum.
What are some of the states that you get the most pushback from?
Oh, well, there's not a lot of pushback. The product goes pretty well. States welcome the tax revenue. They like the jobs. There's always a lot of nuances around the rules and how things should actually be packaged or what sort of forms they can be sold in, how the tax structure is going to work. But in general, over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen a state or 2 a year go from a medical program to an adult use program, which has gone very, very smoothly across the country.
That's huge. When you mentioned the packaging, what were some of the conversations there?
Well, there's always a conversation on not making the packaging appeal to children. Mm-hmm. We don't want cartoons and things like that. And it's usually a lot of getting the rules right from what's an idea onto paper and making sure that's real.
Well, it's very interesting. Congratulations for sure on this new huge step for you all. And, now we'll know where it came from right here in Chicago when we're at the United Center and seeing your products there.
That's great. Yep. You should enjoy a Señorita at the United Center soon. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
It's 1:45, everyone. Let's take a quick break, just 2 minutes, and then we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I mentioned at the top of our broadcast here that we were waiting for a City Council committee hearing on immigrant and refugee rights and police and fire here in the city of Chicago. This commission of alderpersons looking to hear from the community about the Welcoming City Ordinance and amendments that they may want to make. Let's listen in now that it's begun.
Please, I shouldn't be.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next up, we have Jonathan Gomez, followed by Dennis White and Abier Minor.
My name is Jonathan Gomez from Lincoln Square, 47th Ward, proud immigrant from Guatemala. I'm the co-director at the Chicago Religious Leadership Network on Latin America, an immigrant rights organization. Last July, the Committee on Immigrant Rights and Refugees witnessed a really disappointing spectacle. The committee convened to demand answers regarding apparent CPD support for the arrest operation that ICE conducted at the ICE check-in site in the South Loop on June 4th. CPD's presence is setting up perimeter around the site, and apparently communicating with ICE looks very much like a violation of our Welcoming City Ordinance. The ordinance itself creates mechanisms for investigating and seeking accountability for violations. The ordinance does not allow people harmed by these violations to bring legal action themselves. Instead, the ordinance gives COPA the authority to investigate violations by individual officers. All their complaints relating the Welcoming City Ordinance violations go through the Inspector General. Alderman Fuentes, this ordinance makes it clear what should have been clear from the beginning. COPA should have the authority and responsibility to investigate possible CPD violations of the Welcoming City Ordinance. There's no excuses anymore. Who is going to hold the police accountable? It's time. We urge the council, many people here and outside in our communities, urge the council to pass the ordinance and for COPA to thoroughly investigate the police. The police need to be held accountable.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Dennis White, followed by Abier Minor and Esther Martinez.
Andy Lynn Blair, Danny Cortman, Ronald De Silva, Dominic Dorton, Scott Gardner, Dustin Emmons, Amy Cortland, Brandon Mendoza, Lakin Riley, you all know who she is, or who she was, Jamel Shaw Jr., Joe Story, Kate Steiner, Molly Thomas, and Cara Thompson. Cara Thompson was a 19-year-old black woman who was killed by illegal immigrants. But you all don't protest for the victim that I just named. You all want ICE out of here. So if you want this sanctuary ordinance to go, you want this to be a welcoming city, invite them in your houses. Because half of you all don't want nothing happen until it knocked on your doorstep or a detective come to your house and say your loved one is dead. We got a bigger problem than with each and every last one of you all over here, coming over here, snapping your fingers, over here, defund ICE, and all. You could boo all you want to, sister girl, but you know what time it is. But anything else, you all want this to happen. We got enough problem, local crime, but you all not even from Chicago, are you? No. You're not from the South or the West Side, are you? No. We deal with this on a daily basis, not with the crimes that's going on with the illegals, but the local crimes itself. But here's the thing. They carry weapons, I carry weapons because I'm a vet. And believe me, I got combat training. So you, young man, you can smile all you want to, but I know how to handle that business right there. So, yeah, but that's okay. It's cool. It's cool.
Order, please.
Because there, you can call it all you want to, but guess what? You're not Hispanic, aren't you, white boy?
Comment over. Thank you. Alderperson, excuse me for a second. Alderperson Hall has requested a virtual option for committee hearing attendance in accordance with Rule 59 of the City Council Rules of Order. Can I get a motion to allow him to attend this hearing virtually? So moved by Alderperson Fuentes. Here are no objections. So ordered. Next up, Javier Minor, followed by Esther Martinez and Jessica Martinez.
Good afternoon. My name is Javier Minor. I'm a commissioner with the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. My thoughts are my own. I am here today to make two clear recommendations. One, to expand COPA's investigatory authority to include investigations into potential CPD and ICE collaboration. Second, to grant COPA the authority to investigate officers alleged to be affiliated with hate and extremist groups. At our most recent commission meeting, more than 900 community members participated, sharing concerns regarding potential CPD and ICE collaboration. What became clear is that people are pissed, they're afraid, and they're disenchanted. When community members come forward to make reports of unlawful behavior and are told that there is no process to receive or investigate their concerns, it disrupts trust, justice, and accountability. We have also received multiple community calls to expand COPA's power to investigate alleged hate or extremist group affiliations within CPD. This is a timely opportunity to address internal limitations identified with BIA investigations and to create clear lanes of accountability. Thank you to the sponsors for bringing this ordinance forward, and thank you, chamber members. I hope that you vote favorably. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Esther Martinez, followed by Jessica Martinez and Brenda Solorzano.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Committee on Immigrants and Refugee Rights, and thank you to the Police and Fire Department Committee to be here today. I hope you're having a good day, because many of our community members are not. My name is Esther Martinez. I am a community organizer with Northwest Center, serving the beautiful, strong, and resident community of Belmont-Cragen. And I am here today because many community members are living in fear due to the continued presence and action of ICE and CBP in our neighborhoods. Just this morning, 2 vehicles detained a community member in our area. As a result, people is afraid to go out, to leave their homes, afraid to go to school to pick up their children, afraid to go to work, afraid to go to church. Are you familiar with that feeling? Have you ever left your house thinking about you are not going to come back and see your family again? This is not new. Our communities, Black and brown, organized for years to protect our city, to have police accountability, to have a welcoming city ordinance. And we are here again to make sure it is enforced as it was intended. Chicago police should not be protecting ICE or DH agents. They are not paid for that. That undermines the law and erodes trust between our communities and law enforcement. We have the right to protest and to speak up about the abuses we are witnessing, especially as ICE continues to commit abuses and repeatedly misrepresent these actions. What we are seeing is not public safety. We cannot wait longer. The lack of clarity around who is responsible for investigating potential violations, I will say, has real consequence. When accountability is unclear, trust is broken. And when trust is broken, public safety suffers. We are here in solidarity from Minneapolis to Chicago. Our communities are standing together and demanding meaningful.
Thank you very much.
In there
Our next speaker is Jessica
this committee for City Council here as they address amendments that have been proposed to the Welcoming City Ordinance there, and they're just listening to community members. Very strong opinions on both sides of this that were being expressed there about who should investigate an incident that takes place in our area. Should it involve both CPD, Chicago Police, and federal agents in our area, as we have seen here during Operation Midway Blitz, and we've also seen over the weekend, even in Minneapolis, as the young woman just alluded to there. You hear from some people who say that people are afraid to go to work, to school, to feel normal right now, and especially during the height of Operation Midway Blitz, but still, even watching what's happening maybe a state away. But then others who say they actually felt protected having more agents, more law enforcement officers in this area during that time. When you talk about feeling afraid, and someone said, have you ever felt that way? There was one man who said, I feel that way all the time living on the South Side. I mean, it's always good to hear different perspectives on maybe the very same topic that's being addressed here. And so they were just listening into the many different opinions of people as they get ready. But the mayor is now speaking. Again, we didn't get a topic as to what he's going to be discussing, but let's listen in.
As a city, we will continue to monitor this week of extreme cold and work collaboratively to respond to any issues that may arise and ultimately work to keep our residents safe. I also want to thank the Chicagoans who braved the cold this weekend to stand in solidarity with Minneapolis and protest the unjust killing of Alex Preddy, a healthcare worker and a beloved community member in Minneapolis. Nurse Preddy, who was born right here in Illinois, was engaging in the time-honored and sanctified American tradition of protesting unjust actions by an overbearing federal government. I was proud to march with the thousands of Chicagoans and residents who honored his life and made their voices heard to prevent another tragic killing like this from happening again. We are reminded that there is power in our protest. Greg Bavino has been sent on his way, as I've called for on Sunday for him to go. It's sad that it took the killing of at least 3 people under his watch for the administration to actually react. But make no mistake about it, without Bavino in charge, there is still yet the threat of this administration to send another Bavino. He was certainly a petty, cruel individual who will one day have to answer for his actions. I stand with the leadership of Minneapolis and Minnesota in calling for DHS agents to be pulled from the city and for full transparency and accountability for the killing of Nurse Alex Preddy. And I encourage Chicagoans to keep doing what we do best, participating fully in our democracy and peacefully protesting the unlawful, unjust, and dangerous occupation of ICE in our cities. Chicago is going to continue doing everything in our power to uphold democracy and to protect all of our people. As I speak here today, there is a hearing between the Joint Committee of Police and Fire and the Committee on Immigrant and Refugee Rights to review the unprecedented and dangerous immigration enforcement we've seen in Chicago over the past year. Specifically, we are discussing an amendment that would allow COPA to investigate alleged violations of our Welcoming City Ordinance. This is an important amendment that we have championed since the internal review we conducted with our IMER team following the June 4th ICE raid. We support this effort because it is critical that the people of Chicago understand that we take violations of our Welcoming City policies seriously, and they deserve a swift and transparent investigation into any alleged violations. It is not enough to be a welcoming city on paper. We must enforce our local law so that we can maintain the trust that we have built between law enforcement and immigrant communities throughout Chicago. Any violation or even the allegation of a violation can undermine that trust. So that is why it's important that there is an independent investigation when concerns are raised. This amendment would allow COPA to do just that, and we hope that the council will support this common sense measure. We will not let fear-mongering or hatred dictate our values nor change who we are. We remain committed to using the full force of local government and our partnerships to protect the safety and dignity of all who call the city of Chicago home. My team is looking at additional measures that will be released in the coming days to continue to lead the nationwide response for cities. This moment challenges us to look at measures that we hadn't previously considered. We are working closely with community leaders, our allies on the city council, and rapid responders on the ground to build in mechanisms for accountability and justice. So thank you all again, of course, especially to the Chicagoans who are standing up for our neighbors and our country at this moment. I'm very proud to stand with you all. And with that, I'm happy to take and answer any of your questions.
Good afternoon, you all. We'll have time for 2 questions. Start with Justin.
Thanks. Come here. It's been a week since the city council approved the hemp ban. Have you decided on a veto, and if not, what goes into that decision?
Well, first of all, we're going to use the full time that's available to us. I believe a decision will ultimately have to be made by February 12th, if my 13th? Yeah, thank you, February 13th. There are concerns, of course, that I have and concerns that others have raised, and we're going to continue to work with folks to address those concerns.
Yes, what could change between now and then, other than, persuading some aldermen not to join an override vote?
Well, again, there were a number of concerns that were raised, particularly around the impact that it would have on small businesses. There are thousands of small businesses that have been or are being threatened by this ordinance. And as we continue to build safe and affordable communities, it's imperative that we encourage business and economic activity and vibrancy. We don't want to discourage that. And again, what has been put forward, there's been an admittance to how it could drag small businesses out of this industry. And so we don't want to do that. We are a pro-business administration, and again, those concerns that have been raised, we're going to work hard to address them. In the meantime, we'll continue to have those conversations with the respective people, and we'll make that consideration on or by February 13th.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
The state says it's probing whether the landlord of the South Shore apartment building tipped off ICE or other federal agents that led to the high-profile raid back in September. Has the city been contacted by the state as part of that investigation, or is the city also conducting an investigation of what happened there and whether it violated the city's ordinances prohibiting discrimination in housing based on race and ethnicity?
Obviously, there are some concerns that the residents experienced that are deeply troubling as far as the coordination between the state and the city of Chicago. I have to get back with you on that. I don't believe anyone from the state has reached out to city officials on that matter. If they have, I'll get that response to you. But there are obviously some concerns there that warrant the investigation that the state has put forward.
Can you give us an update on the proposal put forward by Alderman Hopkins at the last city council meeting that would give the superintendent additional authority to issue dispersal orders if there is intelligence that there's a planned teen trend? Have you had additional discussions about what that ordinance will look like, and do you anticipate it coming back to council in February?
We have not had additional conversations. As I've said before, the SNAP curfew in and of itself was problematic. There is some constitutional concerns there. That obviously is off the table. There's an existing law that outlines the guidelines for curfew during the week and weekends. The ultimate goal, of course, is to keep people safe. That's my top priority, and that's why we've worked so hard to make the critical investments to drive violence down in the city of Chicago, as we've experienced the fewest amount of homicides in 60 years. There are some dispersal orders that, based upon how these gatherings are promoted, that could help support the type of safety measures that are important to keeping people safe. So there were conversations with the chair and my administration around how we can ensure a constitutionally sound mechanism that provides the type of authority to disperse negative or potentially negative gatherings that doesn't provide a blanket pitch that could ultimately, again, violate someone's constitution. Those conversations will continue to go. In terms of my anticipation of whether or not it will come up in February, there's a probability. But again, the work has to be done. And I know that there are members of City Council who are committed to getting it to a place where we all can be in agreement.
Go ahead, William.
Mayor Johnson, since Sunday, I've had over 300,000 real Chicagoans reach out to me and express their anger that instead of plowing the streets, the first responsibility of the mayor of the city of Chicago, clean, safe streets, you were out protesting ICE. And they don't see that as being, a real responsible role for the mayor of the city of Chicago. Your rhetoric has been encouraging people to rise up and fight ICE. Many people say that is the cause of the violence, the real violence against federal agents and law enforcement. There's also a concern that in light of this report that Governor Walz in Minnesota, that people in his office are actually coordinating these violent anti-ICE protests.
Please ask the
Is
question.
anyone? Yeah, I'm trying to ask the question.
Thank you.
Please, if you wouldn't mind not interrupting me while
Try
I'm
not
asking
to.
my question.
Ask it. Thanks.
So the question is, people are wondering if anyone in your office is coordinating with these ICE protesters to coordinate protests and violence against federal law enforcement.
Well, first of all, let me again just commend the efforts and the work of the city employees that made sure that our streets were plowed and that we had warming centers available for individuals who were, either unhoused or just need that type of assistance and support. In fact, again, we saw an accumulation of roughly 10 inches because of the lake effect. And so those hardworking men and women serve this city honorably. So no, as the mayor of the city of Chicago, I do not personally plow streets, but we do have hundreds of workers that ensure that that work is complete, and they did that. We were able to ensure that the people of the city of Chicago were able to get up on Monday morning. No one was stuck. No one had to be dug out. They were able to go to work, and children were able to go to school. As far as using my platform to speak out against an administration that's murdering people in the streets of America, that's well within my right and my authority in this moment. And quite frankly, any notion to suggest that somehow that peaceful protest and the petitioning of this government is somehow antithetical to who we are as a democracy, I will call into question how much that person actually loves this country. In fact, to not protest in this moment would be a derelict of duty, particularly at a time where we see the rise of tyranny and fascism that threatens the sensibility of our humanity. So of course I'm going to use my platform, as those who have come before me, to make sure that we have a democracy that works for all people. Working people are struggling right now in this moment, and they are afraid and they have a great deal of anxiety because of what this administration is doing, taking food assistance away from people, taking housing opportunities away from people. Healthcare costs continue to go up. So the protest, I believe, has to match the energy, quite frankly, that's coming from the White House. So yes, I'm going to continue to encourage people to rise up, lift their voices up against this authoritarian rule, because if we do not do that, all of us will be subject to the type of harm and cruelty that this administration wants to continue to spread against the hardworking people of this country.
Well, speaking of the hardworking people of Chicago, who you are telling them that.
Okay, we were listening in there to Mayor Johnson as he was doing some question and answer, and he really started this press conference here talking about the issues of transparency and accountability, obviously referencing Minneapolis. He talked specifically about Alex Preddy, who was killed over the weekend, being from Illinois, and that he was with people who, the mayor was with people who protested that killing here in Chicago over the weekend. He says that there is power in protest, wanted to make sure that people do that peacefully. But to those issues of transparency and accountability, he went back to the conversation that we actually took you to right before he began to speak, that meeting that's happening right now between the immigrant and refugee rights and the police and fire committees for city council. As they are hearing from community members here, he is supporting their efforts to amend the Welcoming City city ordinance in our area to bring more transparency and accountability, they believe, by making sure that it is COPA, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, that would come in and investigate any type of wrongdoing or allegations of wrongdoing should federal agents have an incident that takes place here in our area. Instead of trying to figure it out on the fly, that there should be an established body, that being COPA, that would not only investigate the totality of the incident that would happen, but also specifically look at Chicago police's involvement in it, if there is involvement, and what their, again, fine line is and whether they have crossed it. So he says that they're looking at additional measures also than they had previously ever even considered when it comes to those things moving forward, should we have another, ramped up immigration effort in this area like we saw with Operation Midway Blitz. When he got into the question and answer portion, he was asked about the hemp ban in this area, and he says that he's still considering the effect to small businesses as to whether he would veto that. He was asked about that very well publicized raid by federal agents in our area and the South Shore when Operation Midway Blitz was kind of at its height, and the federal agents filmed it. There were Black Hawk helicopters. You've probably seen the images by now. There is still litigation happening right now when it comes to the landlord of that building that was raided that night, and the allegations are that the landlord tipped off the federal agents to come there. So that's still being litigated right now. And then he was also asked about the curfew. That's another big conversation at City Hall right now. It's been proposed to go from a snap curfew proposal to a time and place proposal, where the superintendent of the Chicago Police would need a 12-hour heads up, essentially, that a teen trend was getting ready to take place somewhere in our city, and that he would be able to call a curfew for that area at that point in time. So he says that he has had essentially a productive meeting with the chair of that committee. That would be Alderman Brian Hopkins for the Public Safety Commission, who is the one calling for this time and place curfew. And he says that they are looking at how to ensure constitutionally sound measures moving forward. That being that he had issues, the mayor had issues, as well as the ACLU and many others, as to whether a snap curfew or a time and place curfew could have some constitutional limits to it that would essentially get the city sued. So they were continuing on with that, but we do have a couple of our guests on the line right now that we want to go ahead and get in, because we know they have been waiting patiently for the conversations that we promised we would have with them today. Right from the outset, the mayor was talking about the weather conditions. We've had extremely cold conditions over the last several days. We've had the snow in our area, and of course, some folks like to get out and play. We had a lot of kids that were off from school on Friday, some even off on Monday as well. And so if you were looking for that place, well, a lot of people found it, and maybe generations of people, and I should say, have found it. The Wilmot Mountain is what we're talking about now. Chuck Randall's the Senior Director, General Manager, is joining me now to talk a little bit more. Thank you for your time and for holding on for us.
Thanks for having me, Anita.
I've heard a lot about the Wilmot Mountain over the last few days. What makes it so special?
Wilmot is Chicago's winter playground, and we have just a great opportunity to folks to get out and enjoy the outdoors when the weather has us hunkering down when we're home in our neighborhoods. So Wilmot Mountain, we've got 25 trails of winter fun to be had, skiing and riding. We also have this coming weekend, we'll have 25 lanes of snow tubing available as well. And while many folks are at home staying away from the cold, some of us are out here loving it.
Yeah. And tell me about business this year. compared to the last few years? Because I feel like we have been, for those of us who don't have a business in snow, we've been spoiled over the last few years because it's been fairly mild. I mean, we've kind of had these episodes of snow, but not really too much and not for too long. This year is very different.
Yeah, we've had quite a bit of natural snow. I think we've reported 22 inches of natural snow since we opened the resort in early December, and it's actually quite a bit like last year from a business perspective, because while it didn't snow as much last year, it was very cold, and we have the ability to manufacture a lot of snow and push it out and groom it and create a great winter experience, even if we don't get the natural snow. Now, let's be honest, the natural snow sure makes it a little bit more romantic and a great environment around, and Mother Nature is better at making snow than we are. So it makes the product and the experience even better.
Well, you know, Mother Nature's had a little bit more practice than you all. She's been in the game a little bit longer.
Has. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the family traditions there. You know, I've heard that there really are generations of people that come out, so they want to take their kids to experience the same thing they did when they were a kid.
Absolutely. So Wilmot Mountain opened in 1938 and was a weekend-only retreat. The founder, Walter Stopa, came out of the city of Chicago and opened this weekend retreat for his friends and family, and it grew into the business that it is today. We have many examples of our team and volunteers, second, third, fourth generation family members who work or volunteer at Wilmot Mountain, and then we have the same when it comes to our guests. And to see some of those generations together, to see folks interact with their coworkers and peers that whose parents worked together, whose grandparents worked together, and welcoming guests the same. My mother grew up skiing at Wilmot Mountain with her mother. My son, therefore, is a fourth generation Wilmot skier, so I'm one of those families and proud to work along with them.
That is so beautiful. I love it. I absolutely love it. And tell me, like, what's prime time at Wilmot Mountain? Like, when are people really flocking to your area?
Yeah, so we are open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. And we get a lot of folks, either retired folks or folks who work on weekends that come out and enjoy skiing and riding during the day on the weekdays. And then in the evenings, working folks or folks that are in school come out and recreate with us on the weekday evenings. On the weekends, we have our race programs, we have our 3-week lesson programs, and that's where a lot of folks come out for day trips up to Wilmot Mountain. One thing new this year that we have is our community nights, and we've got one coming up on Friday night. We have $39 lift tickets and $12 rentals for folks that want to come out after 3 p.m. on Friday, and that is gaining a lot of steam, and Friday nights are getting more and more energetic and a fun place to be.
So cool. It's been so many years since I've been on skis, but just listening to you makes me like, maybe I want to get back out there. I don't know if my ankles can hang, but let's talk a little bit more about, all right, if somebody is new to all of this and they're coming from Chicago, what's the easiest way to get to you?
Yeah, so come on out. We have it all. So we have rentals, we have lessons and instruction, we have food and beverage available, both for folks that are skiing or for any family members who want to join in and come out and experience it and aren't interested in skiing. If you want to give it a try, I'd suggest coming on out, take 94 up to Highway C straight across. That's an easy drive. And then just come out and check it out, even if you're not going to ski, and ask some questions of our team. Like I said, we've got folks who have been, families who have been working there for generations and are passionate about it. You got to get dressed warm, and then we can take care of the rest for you, from rentals to ski and ride school. Or if you're not interested in skiing, tubing is another way to get outside. Ooh. And it requires no skill at all. You simply need to sit.
Doesn't take a lot of skill. Okay, all right. You took out my ankle excuse right there.
I guess I did.
Awesome stuff. Congratulations on all the success over the generations for you all's business, and just for having an environment that families can really enjoy all together. There aren't a whole lot of things that we can readily say like the whole family can enjoy together these days. So it sounds like a wonderful place. When does the season end?
We will keep skiing and riding as long as the weather allows us to keep our snow. We typically operate through the first or second weekend in March. So come on out. We're looking forward to having you, Anita.
Okay, I've got about a month. I got about a month. Well, we shall see. Okay. Wonderful chatting with you today, though, Chuck. Thank you so much for your time.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. It sounds amazing. It does. For someone who hasn't been there before, and I'm telling you, there were plenty of people in the newsroom that were like, oh my gosh, I love that place. So if you haven't experienced it, maybe now's the time. And if it's your thing, goodness, I would love to hear more about the stories. I loved hearing his family story and so many others, the family stories of people who have gone there over time. Let's take a 2-minute break, everybody, and then we're going to bring our next guest in. All right, everybody, it's just about 2:26 right now. As usual, we kind of ebb and flow through some fun conversations like the Wilmot Mountain and the fun things that people have been doing there for many, many years, to some harder conversations. I mean, we've covered, immigration rights today, and now we have another one of the tough conversations here. And this is about a topic that many advocates are hoping will be top of mind for people, not just today, but moving forward. And that's human trafficking, and especially the effects both here in Chicago and beyond. I want to bring in Michael Jacobson, who is the president and CEO for the IHLA, which is the Illinois Hotel and Lodging Association. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Anita. I'd much rather talk about skiing and tubing, but this is obviously such an important topic, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, wouldn't we all love to just stay with the things that make us smile? This is a cause for concern. So why are we talking so much about human trafficking this week and today specifically?
So January is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, so we're coming towards the tail end of that. And the hotel industry over the years has taken a real leading role in training our employees to prevent human trafficking, not just during this prevention month, but throughout the year. And we're really going to hit our cornerstone of that this week on Friday. We're hosting several hundred hotel employees for a live in-person training at the Sheraton Hotel to really make sure that they're refreshed on all the different ways to prevent human trafficking within our hotels. It's something that unfortunately happens in a lot of legitimate businesses, including hotels, without any knowledge of our hotel owners or operators. But it's something that we're addressing head on, and we want to do everything we can to make sure that it doesn't happen here in Chicago.
Yeah, there were representatives of one organization that were at the Metra, at the Union Station this morning. They were handing out magnets to people with some information, essentially, see something, say something, but some of the things to look for people, again, to make sure that it's top of mind for everyone. When you talk about training your workers, your employees, let's go into some of the things that you're telling them to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, some are more basic or things that you would notice just in a normal interaction than others. So, for example, at check-in, our staff are trained to, if a man and a woman walk in and the woman stays back and doesn't come up to the front desk, we're trained to try to engage that woman. Hey, ma'am, would you like a bottle of water? Or can I help you with something? To see, does the male answer on her behalf, or is she empowered to answer on her own? It's really trying to sense, does that person have control of their own life? Is the male holding her purse and her belongings for her? Other things that we identify are our door lock technology, our keys being used repeatedly to open that door. Why is that door opening and closing so many times? Who's going in and out of that room so many times? Or are they asking for a lot of replacement keys so they could give them out to other people? Even our housekeepers, when they go into a guest room, is there a lot of photography equipment? Is the furniture rearranged in weird ways, or sheets on the wall to disguise what's the branding or the type of hotel room it is? So, not to say any one of these is a telltale sign of human trafficking, but our staff are trained to kind of identify a lot of trends and then report that to management so that managers could then take the next step and decide when is really the right time to involve law enforcement if there's a series of different red flags that arise in any given stay.
I'm telling you, I have had multiple conversations. I've even emceed an event pertaining to human trafficking, and I feel like each time I learn something new, and some of the things that you brought up there, I'm like, oh wow, yeah. I mean, that would be something to look out for, and a unique way of kind of going about it too, to not tip off the man or the person who essentially could be as what's on her back.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people underappreciate or don't realize how big of a problem this really is. Over 27 million women, men, children are unfortunately victims of human trafficking. And I think in Chicago, we're in a unique position that we're really at the crossroads of America. We have all the interstates convening here. We have a lot of the rail lines convening here. And so that's where, again, unfortunately, hotels are sometimes the site where traffickers either house overnight or cases like prostitution happen. And that's why we take this so seriously and make sure that our staff are trained, because we're really the front line of defense and prevention here. And to date, we've had 2.2 million trainings of our employees nationwide. So it's something that, again, we're very proactive. We're not trying to sweep this problem under the rug, and we want to take it seriously. And that's why we're really looking forward to this event on Friday. Attorney General Kwame Raoul will be joining us along with other industry experts, just to be able to make sure that we kind of dust off the training and make sure our employees know the current trends that are out there.
Yeah, I want to ask you a couple of things about that. One, the seminar that you all are hosting, tell me a little bit more about it. I mean, is that open to the public, or is it just within the industry and to invited parties?
It's just to the industry. It's really meant for the frontline hotel employees. Obviously, there's a lot of sensitivities on this topic. We want to make sure that people could speak freely about their experience, ask questions. So it is closed to the public. But that said, it is something that not only do we take seriously, but it's actually law in Illinois. In 2019, my organization, IHLA, actually advocated for legislation in Springfield to require every hotel employee at the time of hire and then every 2 2 years undergo a regular training, because the trends and the warning signs do evolve over the years. So this training will have a lot of good content, and it's not only the right thing to do, but it also fulfills a requirement of Illinois law. And it's something that it's weird for a business association to go out there and advocate for a new law that impacts themselves. But that just shows how committed we are to ending this heinous crime once and for all.
Yeah, and going back to one of the other comments that you made about like dusting off the training, there is learning something and then there is putting it to use. I mean, for instance, there's going to CPR class and then there's the moment when you actually have to put that into practice to save someone's life. Can you think of, or are there testimonials at these meetings of a worker that has had to step in, and what was that like?
There are more than you would even think. And again, some of it, you could say it's a sad reality, but actually it's a good reality that the training works, and it's really the cornerstone of preventing this. And so we have had examples. We work really closely with law enforcement, particularly the Illinois State Police and their task force around human trafficking. And I've personally been involved where a hotel worker has flagged it. We've escalated it up to the state police and the FBI. And then we've been able to see the results of that in terms of a raid and saving some of these victims. And I think it really makes us feel good about the work we do, that, again, so often are really the bulk of our business is making sure that guests have the best experiences when they come to Chicago. But there's so much more than that we rely on our amazing hotel employees for, including public safety, and this is one of those. So there's a lot of testimonials out there. And the other area I would say is that we play a big role in helping the survivors when they do get out of the trade or when they get out of trafficking. And that's an important component, because when they get out, they need some economic stability. They need kind of to rebuild their lives. And so we work with a lot of the local organizations, one in particular, Salt and Light Coalition, to provide workforce development opportunities, give them jobs, give them pathways to really escape human trafficking and rebuild their lives so that they can continue living once they escape.
I think that is absolutely excellent, because if you don't have that kind of economic undergirding there, when taken out of a situation, staying out of it is very difficult as well. Let me ask you this. You mentioned like championing essentially the bills that have gone forward to strengthen the laws around this particular topic. What more do you think needs to be done?
I think, and that's really the importance of a prevention month like in January here, is just continuing to raise awareness. I mean, we're really proud of the work we're doing in the hotel industry. I think a lot of other industries can join in, and a lot of industries already have. I know we work really closely with a lot of the airlines, particularly our hometown airline here at United Airlines. They take it equally as seriously. Their staff are equally as trained on what they can detect on their own aircraft. But there's other industries out there that I think can play a role in this, and then just the general public. We want to get the message out there that, you said it earlier, if you see something, say something. It never hurts to call law enforcement, call the police, and report something. And the police are specially trained. The general public's not trained to detect what is trafficking and what's not. Law enforcement is. So while it could sometimes be an awkward call to make, it never hurts. And what if you prevented from, or if you were decided not to call and you find out it's a trafficking victim later, how bad would you feel? So we're really just trying to raise public awareness of how prevalent of an issue this is and talk about the warning signs so that the public can play a role in preventing this as well.
Yeah, you really never know the effect of just speaking up, what your words can do. There's the off chance maybe you're wrong, but if you're right, you may have just saved a life. You mentioned 2019 being a year for change, really, in this area and for your organization, for the hotels throughout the state. Do you feel like things are gradually moving here? Like, what are the conversations as we gradually, I don't want to say that you maybe put more public safety prevalence in areas that you wouldn't have thought of before, like hotels. I mean, maybe 20, 30 years ago, this wasn't a conversation that, say, a hotel association would be taking on, or that hotel workers would be trained on. But public safety really involves the entire community in different ways.
Yeah, it's all about partnership. We all have a role to play, and that's why we work so closely with the city of Chicago, the state, law enforcement, and others, and community groups. But to be clear, in 2019 is when we passed the law requiring this, but our industry was already doing that. All the hotel brands like Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, IHG were already providing this training to employees. We just wanted to codify it to make sure that every hotel, we didn't want anyone slipping through the cracks. We wanted to make sure that everybody was required to do so. But as you mentioned, things evolve, and we even learned some things that just last year in 2025, we had to pass a new bill that kind of added upon that original legislation in 2019 to just kind of stiffen some of the penalties and give local law enforcement more abilities to enforce the law. And that shows that, again, when you learn things, we can always go out and amend that legislation and make it even stronger. There's always room to grow. And I think, especially, as you look at some of the major events that are coming to the United States over the next several years, we typically see an uptick of trafficking around major events. So you look at some of the major events that are going on over the next couple of years, the World Cup this year. While not in Chicago, a lot of travelers will be coming through Chicago to transit to some of the World Cup sites, similar to the Olympics in 2028. So that's why, not just here in Illinois, but really throughout the country, you're going to see a continued emphasis on this topic, just so that we could play the biggest role that we possibly can in preventing this.
Yeah, what are some of the ways that you see human trafficking evolving?
I think in terms of the way people are transported, in terms of a lot of people think that it's just sex trafficking. There's labor trafficking as well. And I think that as jobs evolve, and I think even in terms of you see a lot of discussions around immigration and immigrant rights and everything, I think that plays a role into it because people tend to go underground when you see increased enforcement activities like this. And unfortunately, that sometimes causes people to fall victim to traffickers that try to take advantage of vulnerable populations like this. So I think as national politics evolve, as just kind of transportation trends and labor trends evolve, then I think trafficking naturally, as smart as we get, these traffickers sometimes find ways around the protocols and the prevention efforts that we have in place. So we just need to continually stay up to date and continually evolve to make sure that we can do everything we can to prevent trafficking.
Michael, you seem like a great representative for your organization. Great chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right. 240, and there are many events that are happening, both those that are more private industry wide, like he was mentioning there for the Illinois Hotel and Lodging Association, but there are some other events that are happening over the next few days here that are open to the public, so that we can all be more aware of what's happening and our role that we can play in trying to prevent some of these things from happening. So if you're looking for a way to learn more, an event that might highlight this particular issue in society and in our cities, there are many that are happening. So just look that up, and I'm sure you'll be able to find one close to you, especially as we close out this month where there is an added level of awareness, Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Wish we didn't have to have something like that, but I'm glad we do if it makes us all more aware of what's going on. All right, it's 2:41 right now. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be right back. All right, everybody, about 2:45 right now. Thanks so much for staying with us here on Chicago Live. And it is a new day for Southwest Airlines and their customers. Beginning today, assigned seating and revised boarding processes will shape how millions of passengers board and experience Southwest Airlines flights. I want to go ahead and bring in Christina Peterson. She is the president of the TWU Local 556, which is the Flight Attendant Union. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Tell me your thoughts on this new frontier.
Well, it's long overdue. We had a tremendous amount of feedback from our passengers regarding the interest in assigned seating over the last few years. They wanted to truly just elevate their in-flight experience. And of course, our flight attendants fully support any decision made by the passengers for their comfort and, of course, their safety.
Now, I can say the last time I flew Southwest, I do remember the boarding process, and it felt like the Wild Wild West. So
very true.
I'm inclined to feel like maybe this would have helped. But I also saw some comments from people who, change is hard. Anytime you make a change, there are people who say, like, no, I like the way it's always been.
Mm-hmm. Well, very true. We're hoping to capture those people and include them in this process. Change is inevitable, and hopefully this is a really good change. This assigned seating will really truly help us expedite our boarding process. Also, just help alleviate that stress that families or last minute boarders experience when they can't sit together. We welcome this change. I think it's going to be truly a game changer.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit more about the difference you feel it will make, because I feel like it goes beyond just getting people on board, but also their temperament when they encounter you on board.
Right. Once again, it will alleviate a lot of the frustrations that happen when you're on your way to the airport, waiting in line at security. That tension tends to escalate, and then when you're in the gate area, by the time you get on the aircraft, that is kind of should be just a relief that you have a seat and you're on your way, right? So also for as flight attendants, once this assigned seating is implemented, we receive a passenger manifest, which is crucial in the event of any type of in-flight emergency or medical emergency that we may experience. Since we are the first responders in the air, we're safety professionals. So that manifest will really be helpful.
Are you already getting first day reports?
Yes, I've been very busy doing interviews all day. So I have heard from several of our flight attendants. It's going very well. I think with the weather challenges, specifically today and over the last week, people are just happy to have a seat on an aircraft, right?
Yeah.
And just to be, going somewhere, getting out of wherever they are. So yeah, it's been very well received today.
Yeah, they're stressed, but not upset with you.
No,
They've been
not at
stressed for
all.
days, but just not with you.
Yeah, definitely. It's been, like I said, it's a great change.
So I would like to talk a little bit more about what you all have encountered. I have seen, reports of more interactions, unruly passengers over the last several years. What have things been like for flight attendants?
Well, actually, it's been, a welcome change. People are a little bit more mellow, a lot more mellow after COVID. So fortunately, those incidents are very few and far between. We haven't had a lot of challenges or experienced a lot of difficult passengers on the aircraft. Again, I think the frustration is, previous to them getting on the aircraft. The frustrations lie in the security lines or, waiting around in the gate area. I think they're a little bit more relieved and comfortable once they get on the aircraft. So we're fortunate.
I hope so. I only hope the best for you all because of the work that you all do to make our experience that much better when we are in the air for the flying public. So we should all wish you all the best. This is not the only change that Southwest is implementing this week, right?
Well, we do have some operational changes that have occurred over the last few weeks and months. And I just want to mention that all of our flight attendants are union members. And as the president of TW Local 556, we work very closely, and we're good partners with Southwest Airlines. And any type of operation changes that occur, we are truly their frontline voices. So we provide a lot of feedback to the company about operational changes. So,
tell me about the training to accommodate the changes.
Training is quite extensive. The company does a great job with putting out videos and additional resources from our Southwest University to help bring us along in the process anytime we have any operational change or anything that's pertaining to our job on the aircraft.
Tell me a little bit more of people. We experience flight attendants, but I don't feel like we really maybe understand the job. Tell us a little bit more. If someone were interested in becoming a flight attendant right now, what would you say to them?
Well, I've been a flight attendant for 33 years, so I'm very proud of that. Years ago, of course, there was a different type of stereotype or job description, if you will. Southwest has always been legendary on their customer service. That will continue. We are definitely safety professionals. First and foremost, we are the frontline air safety, people that encounter the medical challenges every day. So it is a wonderful, wonderful job. I can't speak highly enough about it. Initially, I thought I'd do it maybe 2 years, and here I am 33 years later, and I'm very proud of that.
Well, you must love it. Yeah, to extend it by so many years from the 2 you originally thought you would spend with them.
Just thought, out of college, I thought, well, I love people. I love to travel. I'm just going to do this for 2 years. here I am 33 years later. So it's been awesome.
And tell me a little bit about your union. How many people do you all represent? And, what the maybe last year has been like for your union, for those that you do represent?
We represent over 22,000 flight attendants currently. We are hiring more flight attendants, and that number will grow to almost 24,000 by the end of the year. Our local union is imperative in regards to representation for all flight attendants, for safety, for day-to-day work lives that our safety roles. We do a lot for our members, and I'm really, really proud of our local. Yeah.
I want to ask you a question based off of a comment from the transportation director, Sean Duffy, a couple of months ago during the government shutdown. He said that people should start dressing up to fly again. What are your thoughts on that?
I couldn't agree more. I've always been very proud to represent Southwest Airlines, and I've always thought that, our flight attendants represent themselves very professionally. Our passengers are fantastic. They are welcome to wear, whatever they like, but I'm more of a formal person. I'm a little bit old school that way. I do like a little bit nicer dress. Yeah, so.
Okay, Christina Peterson, we surely appreciate what you do on a regular basis, keeping everyone safe and representing so many other flight attendants who do the same. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, they have made some significant changes, and assigned seating, I have seen so much mixed reaction online, but hopefully all goes well. Even if a change is difficult, you just hope that it's smooth and that things go well in the end. All right, it's 2:54, everybody. Give us 2 minutes. We're getting ready for our final hour here on Chicago Live, and we've got plenty of discussions and also a live event that we're waiting on to come in that hour. So give us 2 minutes, and we'll set you up for what you can expect. right, welcome back, everyone. It's 2:58 right now. Let me go ahead and set you up for what you can expect in the 3 o'clock hour as we approach it right now. We are getting ready to have a conversation about the Holocaust Remembrance Day. There are so many people, and we've even seen, I usually tell you all, we get a list of trending topics each day, and we try to address as many of those as we can because we know that people are trying to find out more information. And so a Holocaust Remembrance was on that list today, and we have someone who's going to be joining us to speak a little bit more about the history and also the present moment. Obviously, it's been a challenging time for many people in the Jewish community, and so we'll be talking more about Holocaust remembrance coming up, possibly around 3:30. Also, we're going to talk about maybe what we don't know surrounding polar bears. I mean, you think like at this point in time, we have to know everything there is to know about polar bears, but essentially we do not. And Brookfield Zoo is a part of a new project, leading a new project to give us more information for many years to come. So it's very interesting. It points back to that whole things just kind of naturally revolve around Chicago, or at least have some type of connection to Chicago. So those are a couple of the conversations that we're anticipating as well. Momentarily, we'll have Tia Ewing up here. Tia is working on a story today about a Cook County police canine that works for, canine, that is a specialty unit. But this particular canine works in an even more unique way. And so it is a very interesting story that she's working on in terms of the use of this canine and how it has saved and definitely changed a life already. And so those are three of the conversations that we're anticipating. The live event that we know is getting ready to happen, and as soon as it fully begins, we will take you to it so that you can hear the remarks. President Trump is in Iowa. He's greeting some of the people there right now, getting ready for a rally to speak there. This will be, you can see him right there inside of this business before the rally here. It's a trip that's expected to highlight the economy and also energy policy, according to the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. She says this is a part of their strategy to have President Trump travel out of Washington once a week ahead of the midterm elections to focus on affordability issues facing everyday Americans. Obviously, that is crucial when you come into an election year. President Trump will not be on the ballot, but there is a significant amount of conversation as to what needs to be done to make sure that the people down ballot, the people who will be on the ballot, still succeed in his party without him being on the ballot. You know, sometimes there is a carryover that people just kind of vote fully with one party if you really like the person at the top of the party, but without him being on the ballot, there is greater concern about what happens to some of the people, especially in swing states and swing districts that may be more vulnerable. And so this is kind of the White House's way of trying to help people out in different areas there. The president taking some pictures with people and again, going state to state and kind of getting out of the White House and meeting people, what got him elected, you know, meeting people face to face on a regular basis, at least once a week. Obviously, this trip is coming as he's still dealing with more fallout from Minneapolis. So there are more conversations that are still happening there. He has been on the phone with both the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, and also the mayor of Minneapolis, Mayor Fry, as they have made some major changes there in Minneapolis, where the immigration efforts for the Trump administration are pertain to those things. In terms of the commander, Gregory Bavino, being reassigned to another area. President Trump has now assigned the border czar, Tom Homan, to go to that area and to lead Operation Metro Surge instead. So there's plenty of conversation still happening as to what's going to happen moving forward in Minneapolis. But in the meantime, and as that proceeds, President Trump is traveling out and about, meeting people potential voters face to face in this election year, midterm elections. And we do often see that whoever is leading, the leader in the White House, typically, you know, that midterm year, it is a big test of the person who is in the White House. Sometimes you will have a surge on the opposite side of things, and you'll see a real turnover where it comes to Congress and the Senate, and sometimes you don't. And so this is his effort to try to keep more Republicans in their seats moving forward, and to maybe even gain a few seats. He has expressed some concern that should he not get the votes that are needed, and meaning that, you know, if there are Republicans who get voted out and they do not remain or retain their majority, he has expressed some concerns that he could be impeached. And obviously he has been through that process before, doesn't want to see it again. So again, these are his efforts to try to help out others who will be on the ballot this week by not so much focusing on some of the greater issues, geopolitical issues that get a little more heated and maybe even see splits within the party, but to focus on affordability issues, because affordability issues are one thing that hits everyone in our pockets. So you see him taking pictures with a lot of proud folks there. Again, this is in Iowa, where he is expected to host a rally momentarily. And as soon as he does, we will take you there for his comments. But it's 3:05 right now. Tia Ewing just walked into Studio 32, and I promised you we were going to get to her so we can hear a little bit more about the story that she's working on for today, has been working on for a while to get it on the air today. Give us 2 minutes, we'll bring her in, and we will talk about what she is expecting for this evening. All right, it's about 3:08 right now. Tia Ewing is here, fresh off of the road, working on a story for another day. But we want to talk about the story that you're putting on the air today.
Yeah, so we were talking about Canine Boone. He is the first canine of his kind in Cook County. And what I mean by that is his whole goal is to be able to snuff out electronics. And so he is used really for child exploitation cases mainly, but he does financial records, cases where people have been murdered and their cell phones hidden, all of that kind of stuff. So we spent the day with this amazing dog, and the story that we tell, I'll be honest, is quite incredible about his capabilities. So investigators in some cases have been right on top of evidence, literally, and didn't know that there was something stashed or buried right underneath them. So this dog has been with the Cook County Sheriff's Department for about 4 years now. And without it, in some cases, they probably wouldn't have as many people charged as they have. So he's been on the job 4 years, 140 calls he's been out on where he's actually uncovered something, and 120 of those calls in particular has led to somebody being charged and arrested.
Wow.
So we put
how
him
do
to the
you
test, though,
train?
too.
Yeah, how do you train a dog to do that kind of thing?
So the dog is trained to detect, we don't want to get into the specifics, certain components of electronics. So the dog is smelling stuff that we don't smell. Like right now, it's something maybe with your phone or with your computer right now, we don't smell it, but the dog has been trained for years to be able to snuff it out, and that's literally what he does. And so his reward comes from his feeding. So he is only fed by hand after he finds something. Now, when he's at home chilling, because he does have a family, his handler, who also works for the Cook County Sheriff's Office, takes him home. He has 2 kids there. He has another dog there. And I said, well, wait, if he's used to being rewarded through his food and by finding things, what do you do? Because little kids like to drop cereal.
Sure.
They like to drop a little
Yeah.
piece of steak right from dinner. And he's like, the dog is absolutely trained. He will not go for it at all. But they do feed him out of their hands. So the dog has only been fed by hand, never out of a bowl his entire life.
Oh my goodness. Now, is he the only dog of this kind?
He is the only dog in Cook County of this kind. Correct. He's the first.
So did they get this like idea from another department somewhere?
So it's interesting. The handler actually saw it at one of these, like, I guess, like fairs. I don't want to say fair, but like almost like a symposium kind of thing. Saw another department in a whole nother state using a dog like this and said, hey, we have to get the dog to the department. So the dog was actually donated to the department. It does cost around $3,000 for care. That includes, veterinary and food. But in terms of the actual cost of the dog, that was taken care of by a whole nother agency.
Well, that's beautiful that they're helped out in that way. And so the handler, has he had him since he was a puppy?
He's had him since he was brought to the department, so since day one. So that was November of 2022, I believe. So yeah, Boone was only like a month or so old at that point. So yeah.
My goodness.
It's really cute.
Yeah.
The story's cute, but to see him in action is really amazing too. And so we wanted to see, because we don't know, they could be dipping some of this stuff in beef jerky for all we know. So we wanted to see, would the dog be able to sniff out something if we hit it?
Yeah.
So we did that to see would the dog find it. We did it with our GoPro, he found it. We did it with our microphone. We hit something in the microphone, he found it. So this is his thing. And when we were there.
Did we sacrifice a station microphone?
No, he literally, so he does not bite anything.
Okay.
He literally puts his nose up to whatever it is and smells it. And then he will bump his nose against it. But he is trained not to bite or ingest or anything.
Wow.
It's really incredible to see it in action.
Yeah, and so you kind of get like the tale of two dogs, essentially. Were you able to get more of like the home life too?
Yeah, because when he's not working on the road, his life exists in the daytime at the Cook County Sheriff's Office. So he's like, they're almost like emotional support dogs. So he has like a dual purpose. And when we were there when I was interviewing his handler, he came and sat right by me. Listen, and most of the time, I'll be honest, I'm usually afraid of dogs unless they're like the family dog.
Okay.
Well, I had a dog. The dog now lives with my parents. That's a whole nother story for another day of why he decided to go live there. But,
investigate it.
But I do like dogs, but usually other people's dogs, if I haven't known that dog for a long time, it's a little bit of hesitation. The dog came and sat right by me. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I must be cool. And he just sat there and he was really chill and gave me another perspective, really, on dogs and canines and what they do, because I think we're used to hearing canines sniff out drugs and guns, and No, he's sniffing out electronics. And so, yeah, I think it's a pretty cool story.
Now, is Boone a part of a canine unit? Like there are other canines at the Cook County?
There are other canines, but Boone is his own thing. He is his own entity, and he works with literally dealing with people crimes, especially children. That is his thing. And no, he is just for that particular purpose, and that's it. And yeah, I mean, he has a lot of work though. I mean, he's called we're talking 140 situations in Cook County. We're not talking about all the other counties that he's been called out to help.
Yeah. And this is the sheriff's office,
This
right?
is the sheriff's office. So he gets calls from Kane County. They were running down the list, and we have it in the report. But he gets called everywhere because there's such a rarity of this particular dog.
Yeah, sure. And is there a different protocol for urban areas versus rural areas?
No, it does not matter. He gave me a story, which I don't know if I included it in my report or not, because it ended up being pretty long. But he gave a scenario where someone tried to stash a phone that had some inappropriate material on it inside of the fridge near fish. And I guess the person saw the dog, knew the dog was coming, and was like, oh, let me throw it in here real quick and run it, and then I go into custody, right? And then they'll search my house. And Boone found it.
Wow. And yeah.
Fish and all, Boone found it.
And he went past the fish and went for the phone. Yeah. What has been their reaction that they've captured from the offenders? And usually you would think you're smarter than the dog that, if I put it next to the food, he'll go for the food, not the electronic item.
They're usually shocked because they didn't expect it, but when we were there, he was 100% accurate on every single thing, everything.
Wow.
Even the stuff we came with.
Yeah.
That we didn't dip in beef jerky, right? So, yeah, it was incredible to see.
Oh, well, I can't wait for your report. Tell us when it's going to air.
4:30, right on Fox 32 Chicago. You can also watch it on our website, fox32chicago.com. What's our other platforms? We got
Fox
so many.
Local.
Fox Local. All the places. YouTube.
All the places.
All the places. Instagram. It'll be there.
All right. Thank you, Tia. It's 3:15, everybody. Stick with us 2 minutes and we'll be right back. welcome back, everyone. It's just about 3:18 right now, and there are plenty of animals that we don't get to discuss very often, don't see very often. Maybe they're endangered, but whenever the topic comes up about them, you think, of course I'm going to learn something new. Polar bears? It feels like we've oohed and awed over them and learned about them forever, but not so much, not so fast. Dr. Rita Stacy, the Senior Vice President of Programs and Impact at Brookfield Zoo, Chicago, joining me now about a new partnership and how you all got put in the middle of it all. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here to talk about our polar bear conservation programs today.
I can't wait to hear more about it. Do tell.
So we have had a long history with polar bears here at Brookfield Zoo, dating back about till the time we opened back in 1934. And so we are just really excited to continue to work with and collaborate and support our partners that are really working towards polar bear conservation. There's a lot going on out in the wild and in the Arctic with receding sea ice. And there's also a lot going on currently with our zoo partners and having a sustainable population of polar bears for our guests to see in our zoos. And so there is a lot of work to be done, but we are very happy to be part of it.
Why is there a stepped-up effort now? I mean, like you said, you all have looked and researched them since the 30s. Why is there a renewed effort right now?
Well, currently we are working and part of what we're calling the Polar Bear Population Alliance, and that's a number of accredited zoos in the U.S. That are working very collaboratively and have really formed this new coalition to support our population in zoos. Currently, our polar bear numbers in zoos are dwindling, and unfortunately, we've had low reproductive success within the last several years. And so it really is becoming imperative that we work even closer together than we have in the past. We've always had a very collaborative relationship, but the population in zoos is a bit in dire straits, and we've formed this new population alliance in which to really work together, be more communicative than ever before, share all of our best practices with one another, and really be looking at the driving factors for reproduction in professional care. It is something that we've had in the past when population numbers in zoos were a lot higher. But in the last several years, our population is dwindling, and we do not want our polar bear population in zoos to also go extinct, which is what some of the bears and polar bears in the wild are also facing currently.
Yeah, when you talk about polar bears in the wild, the president has, in just the last few months, announced plans to open up several acres, hundreds of acres, of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge for oil and gas drilling. What would the impact of something like that be for the polar bears in the wild?
Well, currently, polar bears in the wild, they live in a very selective and they're very adapted to this life on the sea ice. Unfortunately, we've been seeing the sea ice is starting to become less prominent. It's dwindling, and it's really changing the way polar bears need to survive in the wild. So going back to your question, any new activities in this area just can exacerbate the problems that our polar bears are already facing. Polar bears are very selective eaters and predators. They are an apex predator in this icy environment, and they are very much adapted to hunting and surviving on sea ice. And you may ask, well, what are they hunting? They are hunting seals. Seals are their primary diet. It's a very high-fat diet. And it's something that the bears really need in terms of being able to put on enough weight to go through their natural life cycle, in which some of the bears, the female bears, will fast for many, many months while they are giving birth, nursing, and raising young cubs. And so, again, any disruption in these areas just can exacerbate the problems that our polar bears are already facing out in the wild. With receding sea ice, it does also push our polar bears in the wild. They're coming into local communities, and the human bear conflict issue is a very real one for cultures and native communities that make their homes in this area. And polar bears are the largest bear species, and not something you want to come face to face with, especially a hungry polar bear.
Oh my goodness. Even though, from afar, from the pictures, they look so beautiful and so peaceful, and yeah, stay far, far away. So tell me about Amelia Gray and Hudson.
Well, we have a wonderful love story happening currently. Before Amelia arrived, I will just set the stage a little bit, that Hudson is our male polar bear. He is 19 years old, and he is actually the last polar bear that Brookfield Zoo has had born here at the zoo. Like we said, we're actively working on polar bear breeding, but he is the last one. He is our breeding male. He has been paired with Hope. Hope arrived here back in 2021 to be a new breeding pair. And while they too have had some very good behavior, they've been very compatible, and we've seen some breeding behavior, we just have not had any pregnancies or cubs produced. One of our current goals within the Polar Bear Population Alliance is really to create more groups of bears as opposed to just one male and one female. Therefore, enter Amelia Gray. She is a 9-year-old polar bear that just arrived here in Chicago at Brookfield Zoo, Chicago, back in September this year. She came to us from our colleagues at the Oregon Zoo, and she has made an amazing transition to her new habitat. Our animal care specialists have been working with her for several months to explore our entire habitat. That's our Great Bear Wilderness, the insides and the outsides and all around, to get her very comfortable. And then just recently, within the last month, our very talented animal care staff have also been slowly introducing Amelia Gray to Hudson. And those are through some very specialized introductions where they get a chance to see and smell one another. And they've just been making great progress. And so recently, they were actually put together, and we are so happy to report that both seem quite fascinated with one another. Oh. And Amelia Gray really has taken to Hudson, seeing incredible behaviors from them, such as sniffing, playing, chasing one another, little chuffing behaviors that is a good sign of compatibility. And they've just been getting along well. They've been getting to know each other. And so we are also very hopeful that Amelia Gray will just add a little bit something new to our polar bear dynamics here. Maybe a little competition between Amelia Gray and Hope for Hudson's attention. Hope recently emerged from her den. Again, mentioned that she was had been seen breeding with Hudson, and however emerged from the den, unfortunately without cubs this year. So Hope has now been introduced back to Hudson and now to new Amelia Gray. And so the three of them are starting to get along very well as well. And we will see what transpires this coming breeding season.
Oh my goodness. Oh, what a story to tell. Thank you. Okay, all right. We are certainly looking for some updates on that for the next chapter when we turn the page in the book. So sounds like they are young and restless. I won't go on, but
The young and the restless, yes.
right. When we look at this, why do you think it has taken us so long, or is taking us so long, to learn more about polar bears?
That's a really great question. When we think about the natural environment that polar bears live in, it is a very remote, very cold area. And the animals are just so far away. They are hard to find. Their range is very large. And we're talking about very harsh conditions for scientists and researchers to be in, to just even try to find them. As technology increases and gets better and better, we're hoping technology will help us and the scientists and conservationists working collaboratively out in the wild, that might be able to help them. But there's certain aspects of the polar bear's life cycle that take them far away from shore. They're out on, ice that is continuing to recede farther away. And so having polar bears in zoos really does give a special glimpse into some of these life cycles that the polar bears go through. We have the opportunity to learn a lot about things that just at this point cannot be seen in the wild, such as the time that the females are in the den giving birth to cubs and nursing those cubs before they emerge several months later. And so we are really super excited to have now 2 females and the opportunity to hopefully be able to shed some more light on what happens inside the dens when these females, and it's a very crucial life cycle. It's a very vulnerable time for female polar bears out in the wild to be in a den. They give birth to very small offspring. The cubs are only about a kilogram in weight, and during that time they are feeding very rich milk to their cubs, and the cubs will actually almost gain 10 times the size before they emerge a few months later.
Wow.
Where then they have to learn from their mom to survive in the Arctic.
Oh my goodness. I could talk to you all day to learn more. It is fascinating. It really is fascinating to hear all of these things. And I'm sure to be one of the people who studies it up close, it's amazing. It really, the circle of life, the circle of life. How long is there a life expectancy? Because I'm seeing, you were mentioning like 9 years old or 10 years old, 19 for the male. How long is their life expectancy?
They can live into their mid to late 20s. When you start getting polar bears into their 30s, that's getting really up there. And so all 3 of our polar bears really are in the prime time of their life and prime in their reproductive years as well.
Well, we hope that there's some good news when the weather breaks. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today, and I hope that you'll come back and update us.
Be happy to. Breeding season is coming up in the next couple of months, so come out to Brookfield Zoo, Chicago, and our Great Bear Wilderness to see our 3 polar bears.
We shall. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a great day.
Same to you. Oh my goodness. I could sit and watch them all day, and just hearing the stories again, to be one of the people that works with them up close. I would love to do that. Maybe only on the good days. I would want to. But it's about 3:32 right now. Let's take a quick break, everyone, and then we're going to talk about a special remembrance today. right, it's about 3:35 right now, and today you may see several buildings throughout our area that are illuminated yellow and wonder why. What's the significance of that? Well, today is Holocaust Remembrance Day, and of course, it has maybe a different meaning each year. It hits different each year for people who hold it dear. And State Senator Sarah Feigenholtz is joining me now to talk a little bit more about how it feels to come to Holocaust Remembrance Day in 2026 and what's being done to protect many people who are still facing a great deal of anti-Semitism today. Thank you so much for your time.
Anita, it's great to be here. Really appreciate sharing this moment with you and all of your viewers. You know, this is Holocaust Remembrance Day. This is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Is a day that reminds not just members of the Jewish community, but also the world about how important it is to fight hate and resist tyranny and protect democracy. And so, yes, this year it rings differently and about how important it is to defend humanity.
Yeah, I mean, that should sit on hearts from many different cultures, many different backgrounds. Tell me about what the last year has been like for the Jewish community.
Well, I think that we've all seen an incredible rise in anti-Semitism, but I think on the broader spectrum, a great deal of violence and hate speech for a lot of communities. And, you know, we are much better when we are united. And when we stand together, we're a very, very powerful nation, especially us here in America. And I think what we've seen in the last couple days has been emblematic of how important it is to be upstanders, not bystanders, and how we can really impact and change things if we are together.
And the semblance, the significance of light in that journey, talk a little bit about that.
So I got a notice from a National Organization of Jewish Legislators who encouraged all of us who are Jewish members of various general assemblies around the country to work with our state leaders. And I had the great fortune of, I work with our treasurer, Michael Frericks, who jumped at the opportunity to illuminate the treasurer's building in Springfield, Illinois for us today.
Mm-hmm. What do you hope that people take from seeing that?
You know, I think that everybody's aware that we're in a moment and that it's important to fight tyranny and dehumanization and protect democracy and watch out for our neighbors and our brothers and sisters and to focus on what we have in common instead of our differences. We are an amazing nation, an amazing world, and I'm hoping that the education about the Holocaust and remembering what happened to 6 million Jews and their allies who did everything they could to keep them alive during this very tyrannical time, and that what is possible when we stick together. It's important that history often has a tendency to repeat itself. And when we look back at the history of the Holocaust and what happened, there are many lessons to be learned.
Mm-hmm. And there's so much power in the unified way that you are approaching today. I have to ask you, you know, before the events of this past week, do you think your mind frame would have been the same today?
Sounds like you're projecting, Anita. Yes. I think it's very different. I think that what we witnessed and how we all felt about two wonderful souls that we lost in the state of Minnesota for no reason was emblematic of what tyranny looks like, lawlessness, no, and authoritarianism. And it's a world that we all agree we do not want to live in. And when you fight back and you stand up and you're unified, that's when democracy and love and community will prevail.
Mm-hmm. What have your constituents been saying? You know, there were two pretty high-profile events, anti-Semitic events that took place within your district over the last year. What have your constituents been saying about how they are feeling, how they've been treated over time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that amongst the increase in, we've seen a lot of political violence in the last couple years. There seems to be open season on members of the Jewish community when it comes to brazen verbal attacks, public and private. And I hear it all the time. It's alarming, but we have to stick together and fight back and say, this is unacceptable. This is a hate-free zone. This is also, my Senate district is extraordinarily diverse and sort of the bedrock of the LGBTQ community. So we have seen this hate before. And as a Jewish person, I saw how to fight back and be unified and, stand shoulder to shoulder with our brothers and sisters in the community because we want to live in a better world and we're not going to tolerate hate.
Yeah. Because you mentioned a couple of times, what took place in Minneapolis, or has been taking place in Minneapolis, I do hearken back to the words of Governor Walz over the weekend when he talked about, especially on Today, I want to bring this up to you. He talked about Anne Frank, and he said, we all knew her story. We've all, heard pieces of her story over time, hiding in an attic. And to see people who are hiding in their homes today, because they're afraid to go out now.
Yes. Well, when what I do to make myself feel better about these things, Anita, is I jump in and help community. I call my schools. I organize walking buses so that kids get to school safely. You pack whistles, you gather donations for people who have come to this country that you want to help. And when you join that community circle, it's very fulfilling. But, I think it's really important to remember the Holocaust. But remembrance, it isn't a passive thing. It's nothing that you should just let set. It's a solemn responsibility for all of us to stand up and fight back. And that's the only way we are going to achieve a peaceful world and a peaceful nation.
Powerful words. State Senator Sarah Feigenholtz, thank you so much for your time. And my prayers for you today as you remember such a pivotal time, at a pivotal time.
Yes, and the family I'll never know.
Thank you. It is 3:43, everyone. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. It's 3:47 right now, and let's take a look at how things shaped up for the day. Oh boy, on Wall Street. So it's actually a mixed picture. No, not the picture on your screen. It's very clear. But overall, it is a mixed picture today from Wall Street that we're getting. As you can see here on the screen, the Dow Jones was a mess. I don't know if there's another way to put that, but it closed down more than 400 points, as you can see there. But the S&P 500 rose to a new all-time intraday high today. The NASDAQ composite climbed almost a full percent today, 0.91%, ending the day up as well. So the Dow Jones, no, it was not a day that you want to really take a good look at that. We were in the red all day. And we've seen a mixed picture this week. Yesterday, it was looking great. So it's pretty interesting that today we have such a turnaround for the Dow Jones here. But there are plenty of concerns out there that could have weighed on what we're seeing on our screen. And again, that overall mixed picture that we experienced today, of course, looming kind of over all of this week is the Fed's first policy decision of this year. The central bank is expected to meet the Board of Governors. The central bank is expected to keep its key rate at a target range of 3.5 to 3.75%. Of course, the president was hoping that would shift, that they would cut the percentage point. There has been a lot of back and forth as to threats that he made to Federal Reserve Chair, as the decision again was looming for the end of the month. We knew that they would be meeting at the end of the month to see whether they would cut the rate or not. But again, it's not expected to change regardless of what's gone on. And we have seen one of the Fed governors at the Supreme Court this month. We have seen the Federal Reserve Chair take the pretty unprecedented step of rebuking the president for his comments that were pretty unprecedented as well. All of that said, not expected to change the percent at all as the month ends right here. The Fed funds futures trading still suggests that there will be 2/4 percentage point cuts by the end of this year, but not one this week. So we'll see. Again, the decision hasn't come down yet, but these are just the expectations, and we're already seeing some things change quite significantly from yesterday to today. So it's 3:50 right now. We're going to take another 2-minute break, everybody, and then we'll see where we go from here. All right, everyone, it's 3:53 right now, and you are looking at a live picture from Arizona as the tow truck is taking a truck that was involved in an incident this afternoon. We have a breaking news situation that's happening there that our sister station is covering, where authorities are responding to a shooting involving the Border Patrol. This is in southern Arizona here. This is along the U.S.-Mexico border. One person is in critical condition, according to the Associated Press right now. We haven't gotten any more information too much about the things that led up to this, but here's what we do know. Apparently, the agents were conducting an investigation in this area. They had been asked to lead use of force investigation involving an agent already, and they are getting ready to have a news conference within the next hour here. So we're waiting on that news conference to take place again regarding this agent-involved shooting that took place involving U.S. Border Patrol. in Arizona, in the southern portion of Arizona, along the border there with Mexico, as they tow this truck that was involved in the situation. But again, we don't have much information at this point in time about the details of the shooting. So we're waiting on that press conference so that we can get more information about what's taken place there. As we await that news conference, which will likely take place after our time here with you for Chicago Live, we've also been waiting, and I told you this at the top of the hour, for President Donald Trump to speak at a rally. This is a live look to that rally in Iowa, or at least the location where the rally is expected to take place. As you can see, there is a crowd of supporters who have gathered, eagerly awaiting the president. He was expected to speak about an hour ago. So he's pretty far behind on his schedule, but that's not, anything that is unheard of for politicians. We do often, we have a list of times for a lot of political events that are expected to happen, and they're typically running a little bit late with their different events that they have throughout the day. This is the Horizon Event Center in Clive, Iowa, and the president is expected to really focus this speech on the energy and the economy, as we have now come into an election year, not for the president himself, but for others who would be on the ballot, down ballot. So it's another thing that we're monitoring, again, that will likely now happen in the 4 o'clock hour. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be back to close out the show here for Chicago Live. Welcome back, everyone, and thanks so much for being here with us for another day of Chicago Live. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow between the hours of 1 and 4. First at 4 is up next.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
Now at 4, House Democrats say abolishing ICE is not enough. They say DHS